Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of Boardgame Specialists. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week, we're going to be doing our top 9 abstract strategy games. And I gotta say, I found this category kind of difficult to figure out which game falls as an abstract strategy games. There'd be some that I would think, like, okay, yeah, probably. And then on BGG, it didn't list it as one. And then there'd be some that I was like, well, I'm not sure if it is. And then BGG said it did. And then that's how I kind of decide. I just let BGG decide whatever it says was an abstract strategy game. Those are the ones I considered. How did you do it, Carla?
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I had made a list of things I figured were and kind of checked them on there. And then I went through all their ones that they had listed. And it was basically, what we had talked about with just a little bit of theme, but mostly just abstract. So I think we're on the same page.
Perfect. So before we get to our list, we normally talk about the games we've played this past week. And Carla, what have you played this past week?
Well, I got to come to a game night at your house, which was super fun. We both got taught Kohaku by Ashley, a new friend of ours, which is considered an abstract strategy game. So this one has beautiful acrylic tiles that you're going to place in front of you, build your own little tableau, and on your turn you're going to take a fish and another object, or turtle or frog, and you're going to place both of them down. Now they have to kind of stagger a fish and then one of those other tiles, and then so on and so on. Now, all the other tiles will score. They'll either give you a straight 5 points, or they will score depending on the color of the fish around it, or if there's dragonflies or little baby kois. It's a very simple little game, but so fun and relaxing to play. That was fun. The other one we got to play, or one of the other ones, was Deception Murder in Hong Kong. I just love that one. I haven't been taught that one yet, so that was fun. It's like a party murder game where you're trying to figure out who the murderer is. So you have one murder, accomplice, and then depending on player count, you'll have witnesses. And then you'll have a forensic scientist. I think that's what they're called. They're kind of directing the game and giving the clues. Yeah, that's what they're called, right? And it plays very quick. I was so surprised with that. We got 3 games of that in probably within an hour, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also played Tiny Towns that night. That's one of my favorite little small or light Euro games that I'm trying to track down on the used market. And I had played it one time and I didn't really enjoy it. And then kind of kept thinking about it. So I was glad we got that one to the table. That was fun.
And you won?
I did. Maybe that's why I like it now. And then I got to play a couple more this past week. John and I played Castles of Tuscany. It's kind of like a Castles of Burgundy light, but such a fun game. And I also got one of my favorites, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, to the table with some friends. It's actually the game that I sold to her, because I'm waiting for my big deluxe collector's version to come in, and it was supposed to be here this spring, but now it's got pushed back so far. So I had to get my little fill of it in because I've been missing it. What about you? What have you been playing?
My Cash and Gun came in.
We played that night too.
Excited about this. So we ended up, we played it at that night. I played it with the kids, and we played it at Easter at my in-laws. It's just such a neat, satisfying game. Like, everybody gets this little foam gun, and you have cards in front of you, and you put a card down. Now you have 8 cards because this plays in 8 rounds, and the card you have will either be a bullet or a blank, basically. And then you hold your gun up to somebody, like you count to 3, and then you point your gun to somebody, and then everybody has to decide whether they're going to stay in the game or they're going to duck out. But out of the guns pointing at you, maybe they're all blanks. Right? You don't know. Maybe there is a bullet, though. So kind of deciding. But if you get shot or duck out of you don't get to go and grab the loot that's in the middle. And whoever stays in the game and is still active in the game get to divide that loot amongst themselves, right? So, and then after 8 rounds, whoever has the most money is the winner. It's such a neat, fun, satisfying game. I really enjoyed that one. Then we did play Deception Murder in Hong Kong when you guys were over. That one is... everybody looks so suspicious. And then we played with my my friend Mike and his daughter Allie, and she she was, it's kind of like, okay, why are you so enthusiastic about this? I think you're in on it. Like it was.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like everybody looks so suspicious, and it was like, okay, well, it's in the kitchen. It's like, and then you're kind of looking and like, it's a neat one. It's one that, yeah, I think just because I don't trust anybody, like it looks, it makes it difficult, a little bit difficult, but it is very satisfying. It's a great game, and it was good. Yeah, we played 3 times. The first round was pretty easy. We were just kind of a bunch of people were just learning the game, and then we played. It's like, okay, well, let's play again, and then we played a second time, and then like after the second round, Ashley's like, okay, we're playing one more time.
Yeah.
It was
She loved
really
it.
well received. Yeah, it was great. And then we played Tiny Town as well, which is such a neat game with putting the things down. So those are the games I had kind of written down for what I've played this past week.
My number 9 is Aqualin, made in 2020 by Marcello Bertucci, or Butacci. This is a game, a 2-player game, fish together, and then on their turn they'll go and move one like way out of the way and then stick a color right in the middle to like block your grouping. So it's just about.
My number 9 is Hive. Hive was published in 2000. It's designed by John Yenny, and it's an Asmodee game. And this is another one, as like you, that Lee, I think I beat him the first time because I was teaching him the game, and then I've never won this game again. But it's such a satisfying game because of the really clunky bits you play with, and they're nice, heavy octagon-shaped things. And then each one has an insect on it. And you'll start by putting one, and you have to add the tile. Like they'll play a tile, you play a tile, and then the tile that you add has to start by touching one of your own tile. But then on your turn, you can either add a tile or you can move a tile, because they all have different action. Now, one of the first 4 move has to be that you put out your queen bee. And the goal of the game is to surround the other player's queen bee so that it's trapped, and then that's how you win. And then you get like the grasshoppers and the ants and like all these other insects and the spider, and then they all do different things, or the beetle, and they all have like a slightly different movement. And you kind of it is like, it very feels a little bit like chess, definitely.
Oh yeah.
With the way that it plays, but it's such a neat game. And yeah, Lee is almost impossible to beat at this, but this is one that I really enjoy. And you know what too, I gotta say that this is one that you can easily play outside because it's such a heavy game, and that's sort of, like, you don't have cards that'll fly away, you don't have to worry about it getting wet or anything like that. Yeah. It's a neat game. So that was my number 9, Hive.
Good one. And there's literally no setup. You literally, first turn, you plunk one of those down. Yeah, it's perfect for outside. All right, my number 8 is called Mandala, made in 2019 by Trevor Benjamin, Brett J. Gilbert, yes. This is a card game. Now, first you have this little board. I'll say board, but it's actually made of like linen cloth that you lay out in front of you. Again, it's another 2-player game. And you have a hand of cards. And these cards have like beautiful mosaics on them. And so they're just a color. So there's 6 different colors, I believe. And in the middle of this cloth, you have these 2 spots, which are called mountains. And that's where you can play these cards. Now, you can also play them on your side in front of each of these mountains. So on your turn, you'll either play in the mountain or in front of your side of the mountain. And the whole point is, once one side, the mountain, including your side and the other side, has all 6 colors, then you will take the cards from the mountain. So you want to have more cards on your side so that you can choose first from the color in the mountain. And you can play, say, like 3 red cards in the mountain, or you can play, 3 red cards on your side of the board. The whole point is you want to be taking cards from the mountain that are going to give you higher scoring points. So say we've got all 6 colors and I was the one that had the most cards played in front of me, then I would get to choose first. So say I grabbed the 3 red cards, I would put one of them in front of me, which is called the river, and then one would go in my cup, and then the other one just gets discarded. So you also have a line of 6 spots where you're going to put these separate colors. Now the first one is going to score a little amount of points, and as you go up higher, you'll score more. So once you want to get these cards laid in front of you, but the higher scoring points, you want to have more of those in your cup. So you can play on either mountain or either side, and you're just going to go back and forth until you've played this whole quite large deck of cards, and then you're going to score in all your cup. You'll flip over those cards and see what they have scored depending on what you put in your river. It's kind of a hard one to explain, but it's just beautiful. And another chess, like I think a lot of these abstract kind of will have like a chess feel to them because they're very just thinky, depending, do I want to put this card down? But then you're going to take those cards and you're going to score high points for them. So I don't want to give you that one. It's a really beautiful little card game that I love. It's called Mandala, my number 8.
Wonderful. My number 8 is Ohanami. Now, we've talked about Ohanami a lot. It was published in 2019. It's a Stefan Bendorf game, and it was published by Pandasaurus Games. And this one is just a neat garden building card game. And you draft 2 cards, and you add them to your garden, and you can have up to 3 garden, which basically means 3 stacks of cards. And then the thing is, you got to keep numerical order. So if you've drafted 2 cards, you've placed them down, then you've created a gap. You can't fit anything in between, which is so frustrating. It's like, oh, okay, so I got 57, I've got 59, perfect. I'll play these together. And then you get the next deck of card and 58 is right there. And you can't squeeze it in anymore. But it's a neat game. It's beautiful to look at. It plays in 3 rounds, and after each round you score. The first time you score just the blue cards. The second round, you'll score the blue and the green cards. And then the third round, you're going to score everything. So including the pink and the gray cards. And honestly, I have no strategy going into this other than trying to match the numbers. And it's like, should you get tactical. Blue? And then I was like, oh yeah, we're scoring these, aren't we? And I was just so get caught up in trying to get the numbers lining up proper that I don't always really pay attention to the colors, and then if I try to concentrate on the colors, then my numbers get all right. It's a it's a balance that you got to try to maintain, but it's a neat, satisfying game, and that's my number 8, Ohanami.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. My number 7 is Seikatsu, made in 2017 by Matt Loomis and Isaac Shalev. This one is a tile laying game that can be played from 2 to 4 people, but it also has a really cool, it's a 3-person game as well, and it's actually made for 3 or 2, which it has this board that has like 3 quadrants on it, and in your quadrant you have all these circles. You can place your tile anywhere, but at the end of the game you're only going to score from your perception. So if I'm sitting, at this part of the circle, from where I'm looking straight to the other side of the board, that's how I'm going to score. And then the person beside me will look from a different perspective. Anyway, so on these tiles, you're either going to you'll have birds with these flowers around them, or you'll have a little koi fish. And you'll place this tile down, and the first one placed will just score 1 point. But then the next person can place the tile. And if they match that bird, they'll get to add 2. Like they'll add the one they put down and the one beside it. And if you put another of the matching bird, then it'll be 3. Like so on and so on. Also, if you place a koi down, a koi fish, it is a wild. So it can be added to any of the fish that you have down. Now, that's just the scoring during the game. At the end of the game, when you're looking from your perspective, you're going to try and have rows or columns of matching flowers. So while you're placing these fish, you also got to think, okay, I need to have, as many flowers as possible of this kind in that row, because they will multiply. Like if you only have 3, you'll get a certain amount of points. But if you have 5 of the same, you're going to get a large amount of points. It's a really easy game, but kind of same thing. with Ohanami where you're doing one thing, but you also got to think of the other thing because that's the actual scoring part of it. So you kind of have to think, do I want to get points now or actually get a large amount of points at the end of the game? And you also don't want to play something that's going to give somebody else a whole bunch of points. It's a really beautiful little game. That's my number 7, Seikatsu.
Perfect. My number 7 is Azul. So Azul was published in 2017. It's a Michael Kiesling game, and it's published by Asmodee. And this is another one that has really satisfying bits in there. You got those beautiful little square tiles that are just nice and clunky, and they all start off in the game and in a bag. And then when you play, you have these markets, I guess, where there'll be 4 tiles, and you kind of set them up, all 4 tiles. And you're building this mosaic, I guess, and you're grabbing the tiles to add into your mosaic. Now, the way that I kind of had seen that described is the bottom row, it'll take you 5 tiles in order to put 1 in there, just because that's slowest to the ground. It's the one that people will see the most, so you got to really have a large selection to pick the perfect one. While the top one is further away, so you only need 1 to fill that in. And you're trying to fill this grid. Now you can play both ways, where you have like the set colors, or the other way where you just set whatever pattern you want. I've always played on the set pattern just because it's easier, because you cannot have the same tile touching the same color, and it can't be in the same row in the same column. So it's just easier, honestly, to play, and so you don't accidentally mess yourself up. But then on your turn, you will draw tiles from one of the market, and the rule is you have to take the tile, all the tiles that have the same color available on there, and anything else that's not that color goes into the middle, like, I guess creates an alternate market or whatever that you could eventually draw from. If you draw from that, you have to take the -1 tile, but that also makes you first play your next round. And that's what's so interesting with this one, because you're building your mosaic, you're trying to collect the tiles you need to put these tiles in your mosaic, and you're looking at the market and you're like, okay, I want 2 blues, and I was like, oh, I want those 2 blues, because then I would put the orange in there, and then I could go get the orange later because there's already another orange, and I need 2 orange, and then I'll be perfect. And you're kind of staring at it and waiting for your turn and kind of praying and hoping that nobody touches it. And then, oh, darn it, somebody did one and grabbed the yellow one, and now the blue's in the middle, but there's another blue, so now you're going to have to draw 3 blues from the middle if you want it, and then that's 1 too many, so that's going to go on the floor. That's going to give you negative. It's such an interesting kind of like, okay, I'm not going to say anything, but I really hope I get these ones. So it's a fun one.
It is.
It's so satisfying. It's pretty to look at, and that's my number 7, Azul.
That's a good one. There's so much depth in that one. It doesn't actually look like it when you start playing, but like you said, there's so much thinking, because, do I take this one, put it in the middle so that I can get that later, but then somebody else takes it? Yeah, I love it. Good one. All right, my number 6 is called Mandala Stones. This one is made in 2021 by Philip Glawatz. Pretty sure that's how you say it. Anyway, this one is another one that has round tiles, just like Azul, like those big, light, heavy, beautiful little tiles. Now, you have a board where all the tiles are already laid, and you have these black cylinders, which are called your artists. And, well, they're not yours, they're on the board. And on your turn, you're going to move one of those to another spot. So you'll have to move it in, and surrounding it will be 4 of those tiles. Now, you'll get to choose from the tiles whatever matches the pattern on the top of that artist. There's 2 different patterns throughout the game. So I'll set that down, and then surrounding it, there was 3 of them that matched. Now I have to go in clockwise order and grab these tiles one by one and stack them. And then I can put them on my board. And on my board, I have 4 spots where I could put these tiles. They're all 4 different scoring spots. And at any time, instead of moving an artist around on the board, you can decide to score. So how you would score is either by color or type, I believe. And if you had like all 4 of your spots filled, and say you had yellow on top of all of them, you could score all of them. And they all score differently, so it's quite interesting how they score. But then as you score, you have this little scoring board where you're going to place one of the tiles to score. And you're going to place it around, and it kind of goes like around in a coil type scoring board. And you'll kind of get bonuses or bonus points as you score on there. And it's quite a quick game. I think it maybe lasts 6-7 rounds on a 2-player. Anyway, I've only played a 2-player. But you also have a objective for the end of the game that you're trying to complete as well. It's a quick one. I'd say kind of the same timeline as Azul, but it's quite different and unique. And that's my number 6, Mandala Stones.
Wonderful. I've seen that one around yet. It looks good.
Yeah.
It was just to look at it, it's kind of like, I'm not sure how this plays, but
yeah, it's
there
different.
You go. Yeah, it does. Now my number 6 is Project L. It was published in 2020. It's Mikhail Mikes, Jen Sukal, and Adam Spanel are designers, and it was published by Asmodee. And this one is, well, I played this one once. It wasn't my copy. It is on my wish list. If I come across this one, it's coming home with me. But it has these really satisfying bits. Again, I think it's like the nice clunky bits. I really have something for that. And then they're all, like really and colorful and Tetris shape or whatever. And there's 2 of the smaller shape that you can, on your turn, you can collect them. Or you can upgrade from one shape to the next. And you're trying to kind of set and arrange so that you have the shape you need to fill these, the shapes on these different cards. And then you'll get to score the cards that way. But it's so neat. And then kind of, okay, well, I'm going to pick this one up and I'm going to upgrade this one and then go to this size. But if I upgrade it again, then I'll have this one. Then I can put it here. Then you're placing them on these cards, trying to fill the shape that it's neat. It's fun. It's and it's so pretty to look at because it's like, like the black box with the bright colors on it. And then to look at the box, it just says Project L, mm-hmm. And then it's like, wow, this says absolutely nothing. But the game is a neat little puzzle game because you're just putting these pieces together, trying to get the proper piece to score, and then it's very satisfying. There's a little bit of hate draft that can happen with that. We were playing Michael's next. He's about to get a bunch of points unless I take the card. So I was like, I'll just take this right here. So, but it was neat. It was very satisfying to play. And that's my number 6, Project L.
Awesome. Well, that's my number 5, Project L.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, I love this one. I had kickstarted the deluxe version of it, so it came with the expansions, and it's so good, and it's such a quick game as well. Mm-hmm. You can usually get 2 or 3 of those games in within an hour and a bit, but it is so satisfying trying to fill your puzzle. And the nice thing is you get a piece after you finish your puzzle. You'll put that puzzle to the side, but it gains you another piece, and you get to keep all the pieces you use. So near the end, you have this big stack of pieces where you can fill in. And I love the master action. So that action gives you an action to actually place one in each puzzle in front of you. So it's awesome because you can fill up your puzzles that way. But the expansions add a lot. They'll give you, they have these coins. I don't know if you played with the coins. Where they'll give you...
I can't remember, yeah.
Yeah, they'll give you extra actions, and there's really neat stuff in that game. I just love it. And that's my number 5, Project L.
Yeah, it was one that I found because I was brand new to it. It was an easy one to learn and an easy one to kind of be competitive to. You okay, I think I get it. You get playing, and then right away it's not like, it's my first game, so I lost by a lot. But it's a neat one to kind of bring in that's really attract a lot of potential players. Yeah. Perfect. So that was your number 5. My number 5 is Tiny Towns. It was published in 2019. It's a Peter McPherson game, and it was published by AG Games. And you talked about it a little bit as a game that we play when you came over. And this one is so neat. What's neat is you have all these buildings that you try to build. But in order to build the buildings, you have to have the proper cube and the proper colors and combination. So on your turn, you'll say, okay, well, I want a gray cube, and you put it on your board. And then everybody at the table has to take a gray cube as well. And then sometimes you really don't want a gray cube. It doesn't really fit with what you're trying to do, and it's just going to clutter your board. But there you go, you're taking a gray cube. So it's kind of interesting with that aspect of it. And then you're trying to build these patterns. So then you say, okay, great, now I got the pattern. It's using these 3 spaces. So you pick up the cube and you'll grab the building that you're building, and it goes in one of those 3 spaces. But now that space can no longer hold cubes. So you got to build the patterns around those buildings. So your board quickly gets quite cluttered. And it makes it a little bit difficult in how much you can fit in there. And mostly when people send cubes colors, you don't want your way. And then at the end, you're trying to fill as much as you can, because each blank space is going to count as a negative point. And what's neat with this one too is, like, you get the buildings, you play with the same buildings every time, but the building, the way they score and their pattern kind of changes because you change the card that describes the building every time, so they'll score differently. And some of them will be like, well, it'll score if it's touching these type of building, or this one will score this much, but not if it's touching these type of buildings, or this one has to be in the same row as these buildings. And there's different things like that helps them score. I know when we played, we had the well, which is the easiest pattern to put together because it's 1 gray cube, 1 brown cube. So they're easy to fit in, and they scored if they touch another well. And I built mine 1 space away. And I have a gap there that, it's like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? But it's a neat game. It's satisfying to play. It looks cool. It does get really kind of cluttered, and I guess there's a certain level of frustration. It's kind of like, oh, darn it, I can't fit anything in. And so that was my number 5, Tiny Town.
That is a good one, especially if you keep having to put these cubes on and you're like, no, you're wrecking my plan. I think that happened to Ashley. She had to keep putting cubes on that she didn't want, then all of a sudden she was full.
Yeah, because once you're full, that's it. You can't add anything, you're done.
Yeah, it was her first time, I think, playing, though. So the first time playing that one is frustrating. I know from experience.
Yeah, don't judge it on it first. No. Give it 3, I guess.
It has that Sudoku kind of, you can't have this one here, next to this one, but some of them want to be here. Yeah, I love it. All right, that was your number 5, right?
That's
My number
right.
4 is Yinsch /Czar. These are games from the GIPS series that I've talked about over and over. These 2-player strategy games with just simple little pieces that are either circular tiles or some of this. The Yinsch one has actual rings, and they're like a heavy, feel like acrylic tiles that are so nice. Very chess-like. Depending on the game. I think I have 5 of them in this series right now. Another one on the way. They're just so thinky, quick games that can be played in 20 minutes. Yinsch, I'll describe, I think I've talked about before. You have these rings. You start with 3 each on the board. One side is white, one side's black. And you will move these rings around this grid. And before you move, you will place a little piece right in the middle that matches your color, and then you'll move this ring in a line. You'll move it as far as you can without hitting another ring. So if you jump over other circles that have already been placed, they will all get flipped. So you will possibly jump over your own and some of the other players. And what you're trying to do is get 5 of them in a line, and then you will take those circle tiles off, and you'll take one of your rings off the board and put it in this kind of little scoring line. Once you get 3 rings in a line, you've won the game. It's such a neat, satisfying game. You guys should check out that gift series. So Yinsch is my number 4.
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds like that would have satisfying bits as well.
Yes. The one that I'm getting is marbles, actually. And they're all different shades. There's like a black, a speckled. And you actually build the board as you... you start with the board and you'll remove them as you play. So you'll get down to very minimal parts. It looks very interesting too.
Perfect. So my number 4 is Tsuro, and that was published in 2005. It was created by Tom McCurchie, and it's a Calliope game. And this one is called the Game of the Path. And it's so neat. So you have this big board that has it's a grid. And every player gets tiles, and I think you get 3 tiles that you have.
Yeah, I think so.
And you have this little stone. It's not made of stone, it's lighter than that, but you have this little
It's so
Asian
smooth.
themed stone thing that you put anywhere on the edge of the board. And each section of the board, like each grid, has 2 spots. And you'll put it on the end, and then you have all these tiles, and each tiles, on either side of the tiles, there's 2 lines that will connect on the side, but what happens in the middle is all different. Could be that it's line that goes straight ahead. It could be that it curves to the right, curves to the left. It could do a squiggly line or whatever. And then it just kind of, you'll put a tile in front of your stone and you follow the path of the line that's in front of you. And so then you move your stone to the end of the line. And then you'll continue taking turns adding tiles onto this board and move your stone along this path you're creating. Now, if you play a tile that somebody's stone is already on the edge as well then they'll move ahead of that along that path as well. And it could be sometimes that your stone is traveling 5 different tiles and ends up somewhere. And the goal is trying to stay on the path as long as possible without falling off the board, where your path kind of takes you to the edge of the board and kicks you out, or without bumping into another stone. And it's like an elimination game. So you're trying to play these tiles. And every time you play a tile, you draw a pile. So you have an option to what you're going to, and you kind of look, say, okay, well, if I play this, that's going to follow. Oh, no, that was going to kick me out. So I can't go there. If I play this, that would take me. Well, that works. Except now this is a really cluttered area and there's a lot of stones there. So I try to avoid that. So I'll play this one. So it turns me this way. And hopefully I don't bang into anybody so it's a simple game. You just put a tile, follow the path. Put a tile, follow the path. So it's a very simple game. But those little stones are so neat. There's so many to pick from. You can play this quite a large number of players. And it's a neat, simple, satisfying game to play. And that's my number 4, Tsuro.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love that one. My number 3 is Dragon Castle, made in 2017 by Helmer Hack, Luca Ricci, and Lorenza Silva. This one I've talked about before. It again has those baked-like tiles, but they're even chunkier and more satisfying. So these tiles all start on a board, and there's 3 levels of them. They're kind of built in kind of a pyramid form. Now they all have mahjong pictures on them. So as you're taking them off, it's kind of the same like in Mahjong, where you will take one from the top level, and if another tile matches that one completely, you can take that as well. But it has to be on the outside of the board, or on the outside on each level, as long as one long side is open to grab. So you'll take those 2 tiles, and you'll place them on your little player board in front of you. And you will put them in different configurations where you will try to, if you have 4 touching, you have to consolidate them and flip them. But you might want to spread them out a bit and add more tiles until they will all touch. And so once you flip them, you can place a shrine, which is this little black rooftop, and that will give you points as well at the end of the game. But once you do flip the tiles, you will score 2. And depending how many you flip at the same time, you'll get more points, obviously. The other thing you could do on your turn is just take 1 tile and 1 shrine, so you can build up your storage of shrines so that you have more to place later. Some of the colors of tiles are worth more points and they're more rare, and some are quite common, and when you flip them, they'll give you a smaller amount of points. It's just a beautiful game. I had bought the player mats, which are like that, player mat feel, and it's just, they just slide so nice on that mat, and it's just such a beautiful game. You have to see this. You have to check this one out. It's awesome. Dragon Castle, my number 3.
Yeah, it does look It does look good. Like when you have it all set up, it's a good looking game for sure.
There's quite a bit of setup because you have to set up that whole board at the
Right,
beginning.
that would take a while
it's
for
worth
sure.
it.
Perfect. So my number 3 is Kohaku, published in 2020. Is a Denny Devine. He's actually the publisher and the artist for this one.
Oh, I didn't know
published,
that. Wow.
Yeah. And it's published by Gold Sea Games. Now, I've only played it that one time with you guys. And I didn't even get to finish it because we had more people arrive. And I had somebody take my spot. But it made an impression. Now, granted, Ashley's copy is stunning.
And it's those acrylic tiles.
You get the acrylic tiles. And then there's just the artwork on it because it's painted in layers. So acrylic. And then you get another part of the painting that's above. That's kind of like above water. So like you have the turtle. Most of the shell is underwater, but you can see a little bit of the shell that's poking above the water and its little head. It's neat. It is so neat. And like you talked about, like, you draw 2 tiles, one that has a fish, one that has a different type, and you stack them in your thing, and you maintain this. Fish is not next to fish, so you're going fish, rock, or whatever it is. And the way you're putting everything together and what you're drafting kind of to score your board. I don't even know, like I was starting where I was trying to get orange fish because this one scored orange fish that was along vertically or horizontally to it, and the same with the next one. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to put these here and then fill with the orange fish. And like I said, I never even got to finish the game, but it made an impression. It looked great.
It's beautiful.
It was neat, and the way you put everything together looks so cool. So even though I didn't really finish a full game of this, I'm still counting as if I did. And that's my number 3, Kohaku.
That's awesome. And the thing now is that they have a second edition out, and they don't have those acrylic tiles.
That's
They're
right.
cardboard. So be aware if you do find it.
And I'm sure that the play would still be and the artwork would still look good. But you got to understand those acrylic tiles.
I'm looking for a copy with the acrylic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Awesome. Well, my number 2 is another crossover, and this is Azul.
Yes.
By Michael Kiesling, made in 2017. Yeah, I just love this one. And I love most of the series. I'm not a big fan of the second one, but I really like the third, and I'm looking forward to the fourth. I have that one on pre-order. It's such a beautiful game. I actually ordered a player mat, so it's a 2-player mat where it's just a long one with their board on one side and mine on the other, and the scoring track goes all the way around. It's so beautiful. I actually put it on my table sometimes in the summer as decor. The colors just fit with my my house decor, and I also love the game, so it's not just pretty, but I love this one. I love playing this one outside too on the deck. It's such a perfect deck game. It's my number 2, Azul.
Perfect. My number 2 is Santorini, published in 2016. It's published by Gord. And actually, if you go on BGG and you look it up, it says Gord, exclamation mark.
Just
Gord. If you should know who Gord is. There's an exclamation mark there. And published by Roxley Game. Actually, when we went to that Tabletop YYC or YYC Tabletop Game Day in Calgary, and I was sitting at the table with couple of gamer friends of mine. Gord actually was there. So,
oh really?
And it's funny because he was playing. They had borrowed the Santorini game. They were playing it because they're looking at trying something new with it. And somebody came in and says, "Oh, I know you guys borrowed the game. Do you mind if I?" And then Gord's like, "Yeah, no worries. I got my own copy." So they kind of gave him and then they left. And Paul and Michael that was at the table was like, "That guy has no idea who you are."
Why didn't they tell him? That would have been so cool.
But this game is stunning. It is such a stunning game to look at. Now, the original version apparently was just cubes, like different shaped cubes, and there was no theme to it. And then when Roxley kind of came across it, they added that theme. And then honestly, that was a good move because it looks amazing. This game is basically a King of the Hill. Mm-hmm. You're trying to be King of the Hill, but first you got to build your hill. And it takes place with the Santorini. So you're building these buildings. So you have the base, and then you'll put the next level. Then you put the third level. And if you can put your character on top of the third level, you win. So what happens is on your turn, you get to do an action. So you can build and move And, so you move your character and then build a thing, or so you build and kind of climb on. But you can't go from the base, like the ground, to a level 3. You have to kind of build in a way that you can go up one level at a time to make it up there, right? And then if somebody's about to go on top of that level, then you can quickly build a little blue dome. And now they can't go on top of that because nobody can stand on a blue dome. And it's like tug of war, kind of chasing cat type of thing, because you're trying to build it, you're trying to stop them, and it's a really neat game. It is stunning to look at, because the third level has like little windows all throughout, so you can kind of see, and then just the whole structure that you build afterwards, and you have these little minis that you're moving around, and then you can bring in cards that gives you kind of special abilities, and just a great game. And that's my number 2, Santorini.
Awesome. Yeah, I bought this one for my husband because he's Greek, and I thought this is just beautiful little theme for him to play. But yeah, it's cute. All right, so that was your number 2. My number 1 is Nova Luna, made in 2019 by Uwe Rosenberg and Corne van Moorsel. This one is a tile laying game, which you are going to choose a tile from the market and place it in front of you. Now on the tile, you're going to have certain colors that you need to fulfill around it. So you're going to take these little tiny circles, not cubes, but let's just say cubes, and you're going to place them on top until you satisfy those requirements. And then you will just be building tiles all around them. They're just square cardboard tiles. But as you place the next one, that one might face the way you need the color to satisfy. So it might have a blue pointing this way, and you may have like a blue tile that you've placed. And so then you will get to cover up that little spot, knowing that you've satisfied that area that you need to. Once you've completed a tile and totally satisfied everything, you get to flip it over and score that tile. Now, the other thing, as you're moving on this board, depending on the tile you take, it'll have a number on it. And that's the time you're going to use to move your little pawn around the board. So as you move it, you may have only chosen a tile that has 2 on it, kind of like in patchwork, where then you might still be behind the person or the people that you're playing with. So the last person will always go. So you might be able to take a couple tiles before you have to give up your turn. It's a neat game. I think I've played up to 3. It goes up to 4, but it's such an awesome 2-player game. Have you tried this one, Melanie?
I have not. I've heard good things about it. It's definitely one that I'd love to try.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But, yeah.
He makes such a variety of game, Uwe Rosenberg, with his heavy Euros, Agricola, Caverna, Feast for Odin, and then he makes these little tile games, and then he does a polyomino series.
Yeah.
He just wows me, this guy. But I just love this one, Nova Luna, my number 1.
Wonderful. My number 1 is Onitama. Onitama was published in 2014. It was created by Shippei Sato, and it's an arcane wonder game. And this one is probably the most chess-like game I have in this list. And to me, it's a chess killer. Chess is a great game. It's a complex game. It's a deep game. This one has all the same feel, but feels so much lighter. Mm-hmm. And you have this little mat that you unroll. So you have a neoprene mat, and then you'll play as either the blue or the red. And then you have your master little carrot. And I don't know what they're made of. They're not plastic. They're not rubber, but it's kind of like a combination of both. Yeah. So you have the master that's a little bit taller, and then you have the 4 other ones that's on either side of him. And then it's the same across. So, and there's a bunch of different cards, and you shuffle, and you'll randomly pull 5 out per game. So you'll have 2 assigned to you, 2 assigned to the other player, and then there's 1 in reserve. And the way that it works is this card will show if you're here and you spend this card, you can move your character they mark the space. So you could either go to the side, or you can go up and over, or there's different places you can move them to. So if you're going to pick the card you want to play, and you got these 2 actions you can do, So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to play this one and I'll move this guy over here. Then the card you've just played, you swap it with the one that's in reserve. Now you have then the other action you can do. And they're all like named after animals. There's the elephant, the tiger, or whatever. So it's all the praying mantis. So, so you have these different movements that you can do. And the goal of the game is to either capture the other player's master, so kind of land on top of where they are, or send your master so you're in the other player's temple. And it's such a neat game. It's beautiful. And it's beautiful. Like, it's a very simplistic looking game. The characters have minimal minimal details on them, but you can see there's a nose, but it's kind of like it looks really cool. The box is neat. You have like that magnetic closed box that kind of is like a tall square, but it's a fun game. It's and you're kind of playing, and half the time it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then you can kind of see what's coming because you see what their moves are. There's only 5 moves, but like, okay, maybe, oh wait, no, he has that card, he could go there and grab this guy, so maybe I'll move this guy over here, so, and then, but now the move you just played gets in reserve and whatever, that's going to him. Like, so there's a lot of thinking ahead that you can really do, or just go playing as I do and kind of hope for the best and see what happens as you go. But it's a neat game. It's such a cool, neat game, and that's my number 1, Onitama.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And I would agree. It's a total chess killer.
Yeah.
It's the production and the feel of the pieces, how quick it plays. It's awesome. Good choice.
Perfect. So that was it for our top 9 abstract strategy games. Now, next week, we're going to be doing our top 9 games that we would play with our mom. And so be sure to tune in for that. But that's it for this weekend. So we'll be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening.